Hi, my name's Jason Barcham. I'm an associate partner with Servian, New Zealand. Welcome to the Technology Whisperers, a technology and innovation podcast brought to you by Servian with your hosts Alistair Ross and Sean Muller. Join us as we demystify the latest emerging innovative technologies for businesses of all shapes and sizes, sharing our thoughts on how you can improve your current technologies, practices and processes to transform your business.
Welcome back to the Technology Whisperers. If you've been following us, we've had a couple of episodes where Alistair hasn't been able to join me. I hope that we will have Alistair back in the podcast studio probably within the next week. So look out for an episode with Alistair and I. But today I'm joined by Caleb Buchanan. Is that pronounced correctly?
That's correct.
Who is a data scientist and a DevOps engineer working for Servian, and he has a rather unusual story to tell about how his progression went from university into working for Servian. One of the girls in the office has referred to it as an intern's tale, there and back again. So, Caleb, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hey, thanks, Sean. So, as Sean said, I'm a data scientist and DevOps engineer. I joined Servian recently as an intern in 2020, and then went on from there to join as a full-time position with Sean and the team to work on MLOps and the like.
Well, no, that's a good start. But so help us out a little bit. So what Caleb's kind of playing down is that he's really become, a rising star in the consultancy business, and he's been doing some really good work across Australia and New Zealand. But let's take you back to that. You're in university, you're about to graduate, and your degree is?
So I graduated with a degree in software engineering with a specialization in AI ML, and that was finished in 2020, got my official document in 2021. And at the end of the degree, you've finished your 4 years of study and you're like, well, what do I do now? And obviously you're looking for some work. You're looking to maybe take a bit of time off. 4 years of study starts to drag on,
30 years of business drags not opening that up.
So I was pretty over it. I was honestly really looking for a bit of a break. I was planning on taking probably 3 to 4 months off, and then maybe I'd start have a look and see what was out there and what I could get involved in. But as it turned out, Sean was on the hunt. He was looking for people.
Well, we were looking for interns to come in and do some cool AI ML stuff here in New Zealand.
And so I had a profile up on a site called Summer of Tech. It's a great platform for finding internships and the like.
So if you're at university anywhere in New Zealand and you want to do a cool technology internship over the summer, I would suggest joining it. I'll include a link to Summer of Tech in the meeting notes so that if somebody's interested, they can reach out to that.
Yeah. So that's a fantastic platform. And so I'd had a profile up there. I wasn't really looking for anything at the time, but Sean and the team saw my profile and reached out to me. And
well, so it's interesting. I got to give proper credit because there's somebody that will tell me that I didn't give him credit. So Matt Hadlow reached out to me and said, "Hey, Sean, I've seen this guy's Caleb's profile. Why don't you reach out to him and see if he might be interested in the internship?" And at that time, I think we had 5 interns. It was on day one. We had 5 interns that had expressed interest in it. So I wanted to make sure that we had a good number of people that could come in and talk to us about wanting the role. Now, 2 days later, we had 120 people applying for the role, and it became a little bit complicated. But yeah, so we reached out, and it was a very good interview, I think.
Yeah. So honestly, initially I saw the message, and I almost ignored it. I looked at it, I got an email, hey, do you want to have a chat about this role? And I almost just deleted the email on the spot. I was pretty over it. Like I said, I wanted to take a break. But I thought, no, I better take a look, better see what this is about. And I had a look at the description, and it sounded just exactly what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
It put all of the bits that I found were missing from university, which is like, how does AI actually help a business?
Yeah.
And it was all about creating something that would fill that gap. And it just made so much sense to me. And I read it, I was like, how is this not part of university? Like, there's such this just massive disconnect. So obviously I had to reach back out and say, hey, yeah, it'd be great to have a chat and see what this is about. And yeah, so we had that chat, sat down, and
I think we, what was it, maybe a week later, we came back and said, would you like to come in for the internship?
Yeah.
Would you like to do it?
Yep.
So how was it? So starting an internship, how was that? From going from university to suddenly, because you've worked previous, you've had lots of jobs previous to that, but not kind of in a corporate setting.
So I had one previous internship.
Oh, that's right. That's right. You said you had that. Yeah.
Yeah, and that had been good. We'd done some cool stuff. It was a little bit siloed. We'll probably just chat about that a bit later. But yeah, it had been good, and it had given me a bit of insight into industry, and I enjoyed my time there. But I'd really wanted to go back and finish my degree rather than sort of finishing earlier with a slightly different degree, because from Vic, where I studied, you've got an opportunity after 3 years to graduate with a comp-sci degree. Yeah. But I really wanted to finish that software engineering degree with the specialization, so I chose to go back.
Yeah. So you had done a little bit of corporate, but we kind of threw you in the deep end. I mean, I think within the first week, I was having meetings with you describing what we wanted to build, an actual thing to take to clients to show them. Was that different than the previous internship?
Yeah, absolutely. So that's why I mentioned about the previous one being a little bit siloed, where we got our projects, and they were super interesting projects. We could see potential value in them for various use cases, but it was really us working on this project separate from the business. It was to create maybe a proof of concept or something, but it was very much separate from the business. Whereas when we came in, I think it was honestly probably within the first couple of days, we sat down in the room and you went through what business is missing, how traditional enterprise development works, and why that's not working for AI/ML.
Yep.
And then it wasn't even you sitting us down to say this is what we need to do. It was a dialogue between all the interns and yourself, and discussing how we can address some of those gaps.
Yeah. And I don't want this to be about me, but part of my approach to this is that everybody has a viewpoint, and other people's viewpoints enhance my viewpoint. So I'm always looking to get, and that was one of the opportunities that I was trying to take from the internship. Was you guys had been doing data science work or data science study at university, and you had a perspective of what it took to do machine learning model development, and I wanted that viewpoint because in business, most of the data scientists coming into roles are coming right out of university, and so they sit down in the business to start building machine learning models, expecting to work the way they work at university. And 2 years on, you know more than anybody that that's not the way it works.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. So the internship ran for 10 weeks. Yeah.
Yep.
And at the end of that 10 weeks, Servian came back to you and...
Yeah, came back, sat me down, had a very serious conversation, all the big guns in the room.
Matt and Martin,
yep. Very, very serious. We've got to have a conversation, Caleb. But we sat down, had a chat about how the internship had gone, and then you said you wanted to keep me on, and yeah, that was awesome.
Well, I have to say, so Matt and Martin had either attended or had reviewed the video recordings of every showcase for every sprint we had done, and they had come to me. They didn't come to me and say, "Hey, who do you want to keep?" They had come to me and said that you had made an impression, and I got input into who we kept and who we didn't keep, but they were like, all three of the interns are exceptionally good, and we think we want to keep them. Sean, do you agree with us? We think we should make them offers. And yeah, I didn't hesitate. I mean, the three of you, all three of you had done an exceptionally good job. And you, Caleb, you were good from the beginning. You're willing to speak up and share your opinions about stuff. I think by the end of it, you were actually seeing the direction that the entire project was going, and we're starting to take the next step into seeing how to progress that forward, even without an architectural view over the top of it. So yeah, I don't think there wasn't even a hesitation on Matt and Martin's to make you a job offer, but you accepted. So you decided not to take the 3 or 4 months off.
I did. Every now and then I wonder, but no. No, it was a no-brainer. Like you said, we'd gone in and we'd started to build these things, and I could see, and still can see, exactly where that fits in, and it just makes sense, and it really feels like there's an opportunity now to be involved in that and to help grow that and decide the direction that goes, rather than in the future when you're sort of coming in and it's done and this is the way it's done.
Well, you had started getting really down into the software engineering aspect of the machine learning model development. So within the DevOps engineering, you had started. Had it played off the software engineering work that you had done at uni, or was it just really interesting when you got into it, and so you started digging deeper and deeper into it?
It was a little bit of both. We had touched on that type of work a little bit at uni. It's a little bit difficult at uni because a lot of it relies on cloud computing and the like, where universities tend to not have access to that type of resourcing,
or only limited access,
or limited access, or just not enough experience in the professors to be involved in that space.
So you kind of took that a little bit forward, because I think a couple months after you had come on board, an opportunity came up for you to do some DevOps engineering work in one of our big clients, and what was that? So you kind of pivoted a little bit. You pivoted away from some of the AI ML work and into pure DevOps engineering work. What was that like?
Honestly, I think that was a fantastic experience. When that was provided as an opportunity, I had to think about it for probably 5 minutes and realize this is a fantastic way to grow. Something that you need to be able to do ML ops and ML development at an enterprise level well, as you need an understanding of how enterprise works.
Yeah.
And I'd never worked in a large enterprise before, and so being able to move into ANZ and work in a large enterprise on DevOps stuff, even though it's not ML related, translates a lot.
Yeah, it's an interesting point you bring up. I mean, academically, an ML ops pipeline in a vacuum or in a greenfields environment, the structure of it looks fairly simple. In fact, whether you're doing it in Kubeflow or Vertex AI or Azure ML ops, or even SageMaker on AWS, it's pretty straightforward. All of the devil is in the details of integration into the wider enterprise, and to work on a DevOps project in a large organization, those suddenly get highlighted to you: the identity access management challenges, the service management challenges, the storage and location, data source and data destination. All of those are the big hairy things that make the pipeline difficult. And so, yeah, I think there's huge value. I mean, so from a career progression, are you thinking to continue to go down the DevOps engineering? This is something we do in Servian a lot. We bring in really good people, and then we give them opportunities to grow and go in different directions if they want to. And so is DevOps engineering in the direction you want to go, or do you see a view for you blending back into the AI/ML space?
So the DevOps engineering, it's definitely it's an interesting space to work in. I enjoy it a lot. It's making things work, and that's always when you get something that's not working, and then you can just do this little bit of magic that everyone doesn't understand. They're just like, cool, looks good, and then that makes stuff work. that always feels good. But definitely the AI ML space is where my main passion is. Not necessarily developing the models, though that's interesting in itself, but definitely making AI ML work for businesses, and that's where that blend of the DevOps and the AI all comes together along with business knowledge.
Yeah, well, you have stayed plugged in, obviously, the AIML team. I think this year you stepped up and ran the internship program. I mean, we're a year on. You ran the internship program for us this year.
Yeah.
How was that like? So you were almost in a leadership role for the interns as we brought them on. And I think we crafted the program this year basically from scratch, didn't we? I mean, we didn't even have summer of intern or summer of tech. Summer of intern?
Summer of tech.
Summer of tech. We didn't even have summer of tech going in the background. We just kind of organically grew and brought in a couple of interns. And were you up for that? I mean, were you prepared for that ahead of time, or did you see that as a natural progression, or it was more an opportunity?
Yeah, it felt very natural to move into that role. You're obviously very busy with developing the AI/ML practice in Servian, and I knew that if we want to build the practice further, we need to keep the internship program running. And I saw the opportunity to take on some of that workload and some of that role.
Yeah.
And I was like, let's do it. Let's make this work. Reached out to a few individuals in my network to find some good interns, and found a couple of fantastic interns through that network, even without Summer of Tech. So yeah, it was very, very natural to fall into that role.
Yeah, and like everything else, every other role you've been put into, you stepped up and went above and beyond to be able to help out. I think we will do Summer of Tech this year, absolutely. So if anybody listening is at university and would be interested in Servian and some of the stuff we're doing, we will be on Summer of Tech this year. And I think it's a huge, because the reality is that there aren't people in the market. Data scientist and AI ML engineering at an enterprise level is such a new. The individual pieces of it have been around a long time, but as a whole, as a practice whole, it's such a new space, and there are some very good companies out there that are doing it in niches. Servian's approach to it as looking at it as more of an enterprise adoption to drive business outcomes, I think is not unique. There are multinationals that are doing it, but I think in New Zealand and Australia, I think it's a hugely powerful tool that businesses can use to get outcomes. So yeah, we greatly appreciate you being on board. Overall, has it just been a journey of opportunity grow? What, I mean.
Yeah, I mean.
So hold on. Your dad works in the industry, right?
Yes. Less development. He's more of a IT management position.
But in the industry.
Yes, within the industry, as does my mum.
Yeah.
She's a developer, yeah.
So how does that conversations go, when you get the role, the internship, and then the offer, and then you grow and grow and grow as you go forward?
They're very, very pleased with how I'm doing. Honestly, they're not surprised. They've always been very supportive and recognise that I can see things a certain way and get outcomes from that. And I've always had a lot of drive to make that success work. So they're very, very, very happy.
And you're still happy with the path and direction you're going?
Yeah, for sure. I'm definitely enjoying the work a lot. The leadership aspects that I've experienced through leading the internship program has been fantastic. I definitely find a lot of satisfaction out of getting those interns into their first sort of taste of industry and helping them develop and grow. And I've very quickly picked up all of the, well, not necessarily all, but a large majority of the technical blocks involved in the industry, and I've been finding ways to get more of a view on the business side, which I've noticed is often missing from a lot of people's views, particularly developers' views. It's very difficult to have a strong technical grasp of a solution as well as understanding all of the business ramifications of that technology, and being able to bring those together is something that excites me a lot.
So to put you on the spot a little bit with your unique viewpoint, I mean, you're younger, so you have a certain bent or viewpoint to how you see the world and the way industries are going and how people consume services, whether it be from a business perspective or a customer's perspective. Where do you see it going? Caleb, what would be your technology prediction for the next 5 to 10 years if someone came and asked you?
The next 5 to 10 years, obviously cloud is always going to be in that space. That's a no-brainer. DevOps has ingrained itself. That's not going away anytime soon. I think the next thing that businesses are really going to be looking at and have already started looking at is really that enterprise adoption of AI and ML, which is why I'm so excited about that. We can see it with the likes of Google. We've recently brought out a Vertex solution, which is their solution for AI ML on GCP. AWS have been working on SageMaker and SageMaker 2 for a while. And so these large companies are really starting to invest in that space, and that's going to drive people to take on those solutions as they become available and more readily available. So I think that's really the next step in the next 5 years.
Yeah. No, I actually agree with you completely. I think even businesses that are non-technology businesses are looking at the landscape and realizing that there is a value that they can get out of AI/ML that they can't get anywhere else, and so they're making investment choices, and the cloud piece of it is actually allowing them to do some experiments cheap.
Yeah.
Because that's the big challenge is 15 years ago, if you wanted, for those that don't know, this podcast being demystification, right? If you think that machine learning model development or artificial intelligence is new, it's been around since the 90s. The problem is 15 years ago and before, if you wanted to do an experiment to see if a machine learning model might actually give you some interesting information, you would have to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars, and the experiment might fail because you might not have the information you needed to train the model to give you the outcome. Fast forward to today, Caleb listed a couple services that are available on cloud, and for a couple $100 a month or maybe a couple $1,000 a month, you can do an experimentation and see if you have the data to be able to give yourself an answer. So for the first time, it doesn't take that $100,000 investment to see if machine learning might give you an outcome. And it can. It may not give you an outcome on day one, but it can absolutely give you a beneficial outcome or maybe a view of information that you didn't know that you had over a 2 to 3 month period of time of development. So I completely agree with you. I think that's the direction that everything's going.
Yeah, especially in those industries that are not technology based. I think my generation in particular is really starting to understand the value of data. We're seeing it all over the world. There's a lot of focus on how do we protect people's privacy and data in law with the GDPR and the New Zealand Privacy Act and things. And it's really putting this big spotlight on data.
Yeah.
And that's just naturally going to translate to people even outside of the technology industry to start thinking about, well, we have all this data.
What do we do with it?
We're being enforced to protect it by law.
Yeah.
What else can we do with it?
Yeah.
Like, can we grow our business?
Well, and your generation is very comfortable with recommendation engines. In fact, you're very comfortable with the idea of interacting an AI to get recommendations. So asking Alexa something or asking Google Home something, the Apple HomePod something. You're okay with that and comfortable with that, and you're going to expect that level of recommendation engine in business as they move into the business. So I think that it's only going to grow and grow and grow, and the organizations, non-technology organizations that figure out how to harness that and leverage it are going to put the other ones out of business.
Yeah.
I mean, if nothing else, a machine learning driven recommendation engine for decision makers gives them additional tools to be able to make better decisions with what they're doing.
Yeah, and I think it's not going to be the, I mean, it might be, but I think for a large portion of these businesses that do make it, it's not going to be the technologists in the business that create that success. It's going to be the business people who understand their business, understand what is needed to make that business success, understand the pain points of the business, what causes inefficiencies, what makes it difficult for the non-technology bit of the business to work, and then bringing those questions to the technology to people and saying, how can we fix this? How can we improve this? What do we need to do? And that's going to be where that success comes from.
Well, I'll be blunt. I'd love it if a lot more early stage technologists had the view that you have, because, like I said, your view is much wider, and your grasp of the challenges from the business side and the technology side and how they come together is very good. So, Caleb, where can people find you?
So I'm on LinkedIn.
Okay.
You can find me on LinkedIn, Caleb Buchanan, big yellow jersey. That's me. Other than that, I'm always rock climbing. I'm down at Hang Dog on the waterfront. Happy to have a chat if anyone's around and wants to have a chat there. It's always good.
I'll include the link to your LinkedIn profile in the notes. I don't know that I'll include the link to Hang Dog. You might be able to twist my arm to get that. Caleb, thank you so much for coming on and telling us your journey. I mean, this whole journey from internship all the way to where you're at now in your career, I'm sure there's a lot of people out there. Nobody listening to this podcast needs to come and try and steal Caleb away from me, because I just leave that out there. But you have a promising future ahead of you, and very much, career-wise, you and I'll stay connected for as long as you and I are in the business, because you're going to do some great things.
Thanks, Sean. It's been a pleasure coming on here with you.